We live in a richly diverse country where different cultures coexist. Unfortunately, fear and hatred can sometimes jeopardize that harmony. With the current pandemic, there has been a rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans, which has highlighted the importance of the efforts organizations like Asian Americans Advancing Justice Los Angeles are doing to create a more equitable and harmonious society. With us today, we have Paul S. Chan, who is the chair of the board of directors of Asian Americans Advancing Justice Los Angeles. Thank you so much for being here, Paul.
Hi, Natalia. Thank you for having me.
So how has the global pandemic impacted the efforts of the organization?
There has been a significant rise in anti-Asian discrimination, anti-Asian harassment that's coincided with the onset of the pandemic. And, the reasons for that are many. The political rhetoric of the last administration, referring to the Kung flu, referring to the China virus, certainly created an environment where this sort of conduct, is more prevalent. But I think, just sort of the stresses brought on by the pandemic itself, has caused, unfortunately, some folks in the community to think of people from China or Chinese Americans in particular as having the virus or somehow being responsible for the virus. So one of the top priorities of our organization now is dealing with this rise in anti-Asian discrimination. So we do have a program dedicated, directly to trying to identify and report, instances of discrimination and harassment or violence, and provide redress, directly to victims. So we have folks who, as I said, are manning the phones in a lot of different languages and are available, for intake for people who might be who might have experienced, anti-Asian violence themselves, and can try and direct them, to the assistance they need.
Literally a week ago, I was in the subway with a friend of mine, and I experienced something that was just so shocking that I was not prepared for.
Yeah.
This Asian woman was in the same train as myself. We boarded it at the same time. And then these two men started, saying some really nasty words and intimidating this poor woman. And it was just horrible to experience that as a human being, and also to see that there was no one else doing nothing. And I remember looking at this woman and seeing her shaking and crying in fear. And my friend and I were like, we cannot, it's like a human responsibility that we have to act. And obviously I have no idea how those two men are going to react towards me, but at that moment it's like there's a woman in distress that did nothing to generate this behavior. So I guess I'm so happy to hear that you're doing something to educate people like myself who experience this.
It's shocking. And,
it is. It's just
it happens when you least expect it. But it sounds like you did the right thing, and that's why training like this is important, because it's not always the case that necessarily you need to intervene and confront the people doing it. You don't want to put yourself in harm's way or make the situation worse. But there are things you can do, as you did, to try and assist the victim, get them out of harm's way, document the conduct, report it after the fact so that folks know what happened.
So now that we're all still staying at home and we have access to books, documentaries, films, TV shows, online courses, what do you personally recommend that we look at or pay attention to again in this continue this progress of gaining knowledge?
Sure. While we're all cooped up, now is the perfect time to try and do some streaming and look to see what's available. There was a fantastic documentary called Asian Americans that was recently broadcast on PBS. I think it's now available for streaming on Apple and some other platforms, in which our original founder, Stuart Quo, was actually a consultant. And it really told the story, the historical story of Asian Americans in this country. And so I would highly recommend that. But it doesn't all have to be sort of tough learning, or it can be lighthearted as well. I mean, there are shows that portray sort of, the Asian American experience in different contexts, in different cities, and in comedies in a more lighthearted setting, but that bring in elements of what we're talking about. So, the show called Kim's Convenience on Netflix.
I think I've heard of it, yes.
Yeah, Fresh Off the Boat on network TV. Those are comedies, but those do bring insight into different Asian American experiences that I don't think you saw on TV 10 years ago. And so that can be something that you can tune into. I think one of the Oscar-nominated movies this year, Minari, is fantastic. That's again a very different Asian American experience. Sort of a Korean American experience. But that's just a good movie. But I would recommend that as well if you wanted to get some insight into it. So there's a number of things you could tune into, and it doesn't all have to be like homework.
And speaking of stories, I mean, I love watching films and fictional stories, but you have the real stories. Which are your favorite stories that you've experienced in the organization?
A case involving 72 Thai garment workers who were being held in a sweatshop in actual slave labor conditions here in El Monte. And they were held, they were forced to work in the sweatshop, manufacturing garments for manufacturers, retailers that we would all know. And so we got involved in the case with the organization, helped free the workers, helped them obtain some legal status, and then actually were involved in the lawsuits that were brought against not just the sweatshop operators, but also the manufacturers and the retailers of the clothing that was being sold. And so, we were able to help the organization obtain, a very successful settlement to help, the garment workers. And then we just sort of continued our relationship with the organization since then.
So in terms of looking at the future, where do you hope things will be at in, say, 5 years?
Well, obviously we hope we won't need as much of this focus on anti-Asian discrimination, but I think we will continue to have that as one of the core programs. I think the hope is that we continue to get the word out, that we are here as a resource, and that we are available to assist communities locally as well as nationally. Because one of the challenges is not so much having the capacity to provide services, but getting the word out, educating the community that we are here and educating the community about what we can do. With every year we have new members of the community who arrive, from different countries, who speak different languages. We were chatting earlier that, one of the challenges of the organization is that the Asian American community is so diverse. It is not confined to Chinatown. It is not confined to Koreatown or Japanese Americans or Korean Americans. There's probably upwards of 40 different countries and languages, within our constituency that need to be serviced. And so I think our hope is that word continues to get out, that the organization is here and available to assist within this broader and more diverse group that we call the Asian American community.
So I guess to wrap it up, how can allies and members of the AAPI community connect with Asian Americans Advancing Justice Los Angeles?
Sure. Well, I think the main things to do are to publicize your allyship, get the word out about what Advancing Justice is doing. As we saw last summer with the BLM movement, you really do need sort of community support. You need to galvanize the broader community. The Asian Americans are not going to get the service and support they need if the focus is confined just to the Asian American community. We need to broaden it to the broader population. And I would encourage folks to go to our website, advancingjustice-la.org, which has tremendous information about what we do and how you can get involved to support the organization.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, Paul.
Thank you for having me.
This is LA Currents. I am Natalia Bilbao. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.